Do you guys try to tackle Cam Newton differently than any other quarterback?
No, not really. For the most part, we just want to get him on the ground, and not let him have those explosive plays. Obviously, you want to be physical with a quarterback, of his stature and of his freak of nature. The guys he's a machine. So you want to be as physical as possible to try to slow him down, but we don't try to tackle him differently than any other player. Obviously he's a running quarterback, so we just have to do the best job to our ability just to get him on the ground.
But that's what I think defensive players are having a hard time trying to figure this out of when he's a quarterback and when he's a running back. Do you have a hard time understanding that?
I don't, because it's pretty simple. If you're going head first, you're considered as a running back. If you slide, you're considered as a quarterback. And we all know Cam. He does a lot of head first things. You're eligible. For the most part, you're eligible to get hit. You declare yourself up when you go feet first. So I believe that's the difference, and it's pretty simple to identify when he is a runner and when he's sliding to give himself up.
Well, also there was a Steeler lineman Marcus Gilbert, who says that people want to take shots at Cam because of the way he celebrated last year with the Superman stuff, the end zone stuff. Does that factor into defensive players in being bothered by that?
Not in this defensive bro. We don't talk much about that. Our main goal is to not let teams score. No matter regardless who it is. Obviously Cam had a magical year last year. Some guys took it the wrong way, as far as him celebrating. But I'm like him. Football is all about having fun. If you don't want him to celebrate, don't let him in the end zone. That's what it all boils down to at the end of the day. If you don't want him to celebrate, you don't like some of the things he do, don't allow it to happen. Point blank, period.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.